Orlando, got a chance. Peter, good afternoon. How are you today, buddy?
I am doing great. I want to say that I am thrilled to talk to you. I've been a fan of yours back when you were on FAN in New York.
Okay.
I still remember what you said after Mike Hampton signed that free agent deal and he left the Mets. You said he'd never be in the World Series again, and you were right.
Got that one. A good boy, Peter. That's a long time ago when Hampton took the cash to go to Colorado. All right, how about UCF now in your neck of the woods? Let me hear.
Well, I got to tell you, I've been down here now 20 years from New York, and I just think it's really sad that UCF has no opportunity to be crowned the national champion. They were undefeated. They beat Auburn. And the way the system is set up, they have no shot.
Well, the problem is, Peter, let's be honest. If they played Auburn's schedule, they would have lost 3 or 4 games. I mean, they play a schedule. They play a schedule that's a relatively easy schedule compared to the big boys. If they played Alabama and Georgia twice and at LSU, and they would have lost a lot. At Clemson, they would have lost a lot of games. So I'm not ready to say that because they beat Navy a couple times and figured out a way to beat Houston, that they're a big time team. Now, listen, you want to sit there and tell me that they should have a chance to play in the championship. If it's 8 teams, I completely agree. I cannot make a big deal if there's only 4 teams. That's not fair. Go ahead.
Here's my other thing, though. They're all Division I teams. What's the point of having a Division I that the NCAA says everybody has to go by the same rules, but there's really no chance for teams like UCF? Secondly, their coach.
Well, who'd you want to Peter? Who did you want to take out of the Final Four to put UCF in? Which team? They're not better than Alabama. They're not better than Georgia. They certainly can't be better than Oklahoma. And Clemson won a championship last year. Which team should we take out to put UCF in?
Well, you're going to tell me I'm wrong, but I would have taken out Oklahoma.
You can't do that.
I think UCF's offense would have matched up. I think they've got their quarterback, although didn't get Heisman Trophy consideration, should have. It's just the problem when you're not in those conferences, they don't give you the credit. Well,
Peter, I agree with you on that. I'm sorry, what's the last point?
No, I was just going to say, like University of Florida, you could say the SEC has a tough schedule, but Florida stunk this year. There are a lot of teams in the SEC that were not good, that UCF, I think, could have beat.
Well, I agree UCF could have beat, but if UCF played these teams on a week-in, week-out basis, and they played at Alabama, and they played LSU at home, and then at Auburn in a regular season, and then got to a championship game, and I go play Alabama again, they would have lost some games. And let's throw in a tough game at Clemson to start the year. They would have lost 3 or 4 games. I agree that the system is rigged against. There's no chance. It would be a minor miracle for any of those teams outside of a Power 5 to play for the title in a Final Four scenario. It's not going to happen. Final 8, it could. Final 4, it's not. Now, I think one day in our lifetimes they will go to 8 teams. And I think when they do that, then I think you will see a spot opened up for a team out of the 5, possibly, out of the 5 that deserves to be there. And UCF this year would have been that kind of team. I think that would happen and will happen down the road. It's not going to happen now until they open up the 8 teams. And you can't possibly argue UCF over some of these other teams as far as the Final Four is concerned. That's just not fair. Jimmy in Cleveland, hear from him. Jimmy, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Chris. How's it going?
Hello, Jim. Nice to talk to you, buddy. What's on your mind?
3 quick things. One is, unlike Hayden, I haven't watched college basketball yet this year, but I'm hoping that Texas Tech's win over Kansas will get rid of Bill Self. I can't stand that guy.
Yeah, Kansas has lost a lot of home games, and Texas Tech beat him up there, I guess, this week. Right now, I just cannot. I know, unless you got a favorite team. Now, remember, Torrey's got a favorite team. He loves Indiana. He's going to watch every game. Hayden's got a favorite team. Hayden and Steve are grouped here at the hip, joined at the hip. He's got a favorite team, same conference, and he's got Maryland. Both are going to grapple for an NCAA berth. Maryland, better chance than Indiana. So they're going to watch every game in January in the cold weather, and they are not. Steve doesn't watch the NBA. They are not going to, unless his kid watches Knicks. He doesn't watch the NHL. He's not going to watch tennis in 2 weeks for 2.5 weeks. weeks. He's not going to have any idea. He's not going to put golf on. So his enjoyment outside of a couple of football games that he's going to get into is going to be Indiana basketball. So when Indiana plays, Penn State at 9 o'clock on a Big Ten network on January 23rd, and Federer's playing Nadal that night, he's not watching Federer and Nadal. He's watching Penn State, Indiana, because he's got a little connection with Indiana. And the same thing goes for Hayden. Go ahead.
A couple more things. As an aside, didn't Indiana just get a new coach? Didn't they get rid of?
Yeah, they got Archie. They have Sean Miller's brother, Archie Miller.
From Dayton, right?
Yeah, the kid from Dayton, who's a good coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Two more quick things. One is Cavs fan. That game last night had no life. Isaiah. I mean, they had reasons why they didn't play him, back-to-backs, all that stuff. But, I mean, the fact that he didn't play, there was no life to that game.
Did the Celtics do a video tribute? He said he didn't want it. Did they do it?
No, they didn't. They didn't. And but I think that was more because he wasn't playing. He wanted his family there, blah, 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 blah. But, that game just, I watched it, and Crowder and Love, they didn't show up. Korver was the only guy that played. LeBron.
Yeah, I can't watch that game. I'll be honest with you. I can't. There are certain spots. I watched some NBA Christmas Day. That's sort of like their opening day. I watched some NBA Christmas Day. Keep an eye on it. I'll cherry pick the games that I kind of are into, and I'll watch occasionally. But right now, if you're a sports fan, Jim, in January, there's really, you get through the college football Monday night. You watch the 11 NFL playoff games in its entirety. You got 4-2-1. You watch all of that. And then if you're a sports fan, Jimmy, you pick your spots. If you like the NHL, you like Eric, you go to the Winter Classic and you watch that. When the Rangers played the Sabres, Eric from Long Island do calls. If you're Steve, you sit there and you don't watch anything. He'll watch every Indiana game. He'll be into that. He'll keep him going through the winter. If you're Hayden, you go to the Maryland games. You'll watch every second of that, and you'll get involved in that. I won't watch the college basketball, so I don't have that as my friend in the wintertime. Basically from every day now after Monday night, until late February. But I will find things that I will get into. I will watch the Australian Open for an hour every night, and when you get late in that second week, I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'll watch those matches, women included. I'll watch those matches. I'll watch semifinals. I'll watch everything. Now, the Hayden won't do that. Steve will have no idea it's on. Most people will not do that. So you look for that sport that you can get yourself attached to give you something to look forward to get you home in these 40 to 50 nights before you get warmed up with the college basketball tournaments, where you get yourself revved up and watch. That's what you got to do. And some people have the Cavaliers like you do. Some people will have a Knick game, like some people like Knick fan will. Some people will have a college basketball game. The problem is there's not the one thing. It's all niche. It's all niche. And that's the problem if you look at it from a sports fan's perspective. Outside of the NFL playoffs and getting through the college championship, that's the issue you have essentially between January 15th and March 15th. What am I going to do during the course of the week that I can get into sports I'm a big sports fan and watch? What could that be? And we all have our little things. And, and I'll watch the college basketball once I feel that I'm a little closer to meaningful games. And I usually look at the Duke, North Carolina game in early February as that moment where I begin, because there's atmosphere, the great rivalry in college, it's the best rivalry in college basketball. And then I start to capture what it's all about. Until then, I'll cherry pick. I'll find something. Not in front of the hour. We continue here on Mad Dog Unleashed.